In the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. We've come to the end of the season after the Epiphany, and it is ending much like it began. It began with a theophany. This was Jesus' baptism in the Jordan River, where the Spirit descended on Jesus bodily like a dove, and the voice from heaven said, "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." And now, today, we hear the story of the Transfiguration on the mountain, where the voice of God once again says the same thing. "This is my Son, the beloved, with whom I am well pleased." And then he adds one more thing. Listen to him. Now, that should raise the immediate question, why is he saying that? Why the listen to him? Well, the clue to that is that it was at the very beginning of the gospel reading. 6 days after Peter had acknowledged Jesus as the Christ, the Son of the living God. So this is the context. It just happened. If you remember that story, Jesus had gone far away from Galilee with the 12 disciples, and he asked the question, "Who do people say that I am?" And it was Peter who said, "You are the Messiah, the Christ, the Son of the living God." And Jesus praised him, especially in Matthew, the version we're reading this year. "Blessed are you, Simon, son of Jonah, for flesh is blood. It has not revealed this to you, but my Father in heaven. And I say to you, you are Peter, and on this rock I will build my church." Wonderful thing, right? Right after that, then, Jesus began to teach the disciples what it meant to be the Messiah. And he told them that he was going to be handed over to the scribes and Pharisees, and they would torture him and kill him. But on the third day, he would rise again. And Peter reacted to that by drawing Jesus aside and saying, No, that shall never happen to you. And Jesus had to rebuke him by saying, "Get behind me, Satan, because you are thinking of merely human things, not godly things." Now that's the context of what's going on. Is this, what does it mean to be the Messiah? And why are his chosen disciples still not getting it? Because they didn't get it. In fact, you would think after this scene on the mountain where Jesus was transformed and became, glowing and dazzling white, and Moses and Elijah showed up, that maybe they'd take the hint and say, "I better pay attention to what he's saying." And yet, as time went on, we see they continue to have the wrong picture of what the Messiah is all about. It says that the second time Jesus predicted his passion, they were all overcome with fear. And the third time he predicted it, it's followed immediately by the mother of James and John, the two sons of Zebedee, coming to Jesus and saying, we want you to do something for our sons. Can they sit on your right hand and on your left when you're in your glory? And Jesus had to say, "You don't know what you're talking about." And then he's, "Are you able to drink the cup I'm going to drink?" And they go say, "Oh, yeah." And Jesus says, "Well, you will." It's not a very pleasant cup. So you get the picture that they're still thinking Messiah, and they're thinking, who gets to be the prime minister and which room in the palace am I going to get when we move in? And Jesus is saying, I've got to suffer first. And if you follow me, you've got to take up your cross and suffer too. Listen to him. It seems even today, we frequently don't listen. I've been taken by the number of people who claim to be Christian and then want to do the exact opposite of what Jesus said. It's as if we still don't listen. And of course, St. Paul said this would be the case. He said the people having itching ears will acquire to themselves people who tell them what they want to hear. Listen to him. It's still what Jesus is trying to say to us today. That all the things he said then still apply now. that God is still calling us to serve the rest of the world, not to think of ourselves first. God is still calling us to make the whole creation holy. God is still calling us in every single way to follow Jesus by taking his example. And if it leads to a cross, so be it. That's still where life is going to be found, in Jesus, even through the hardships. So, we're coming now to the end of this season where we have celebrated the manifestation of God in the world, bookended by these theophanies where the voice of God reveals that Jesus really is who we say he is, and that what he says is really important. And now we're going to go into 6 weeks of contemplation as we prepare to renew our baptismal vows on Easter. It's a time to look at ourselves, not just at others, but to look at ourselves and say, am I listening? Am I truly following Jesus? I saw the most hilarious bumper sticker as I drove down here today, by the way. It has a huge, you can see from way back the word Jesus on it. When I finally came up next to the guy to pass him, the whole bumper sticker says, do you really follow Jesus this closely too? But anyway, following Jesus is not just a joke on a bumper sticker, though. It's a way of life. Lent is the time of year that we reset our compass and see if we're really going the right direction. When I was growing up, I asked my dad, all these other churches in town have revivals. Why don't we have a revival at the Episcopal Church? He said, we have one every year. We call it Lent. So we're heading into a time now where we should start off by thinking about what is it that Jesus is calling us to do and to be. How can I hear his voice through all the cacophony of things going around me and follow him where it leads to resurrection and life, even if it goes through a cross on the way? Amen.